Alrighty, hope everybody's doing well on this Saturday afternoon. So, first things first, if you have not seen already, I announced yesterday that I will be starting the Dog Pound Pod. August 27th, that's going to be episode 1. It's going to be a all Cleveland Browns podcast. So, if that's something you're interested in, stay tuned for that, August 27th. And then as well, be sure to go check out the Kick Six podcast. That's me and my friend Dylan both co-host that podcast. So be sure to go check that out as well. So ironically, this is something that I was planning on talking about today regardless. And then I get a text from a former coworker friend of mine who's also a Browns fan, and he had asked me about the Odell Beckham Jr. trade and my thoughts right now, now that it's been a while since the trade happened, and we've seen a little bit of the post-trade effects of both sides with the Giants and now the Browns. And I'm going to be talking about Austin Hooper more. That's basically what this video is about Austin Hooper, because I believe this Austin Hooper signing is one of the most under-the-radar, long-term biggest effects on this team that a lot of people aren't talking about. So Austin Hooper signed a deal with the Browns for 4 years, worth $44 million, 23 is guaranteed. Now that's putting him as the highest paid tight end currently right now. Now, of course, when some of the other big name tight ends, that'll obviously replace him as the highest paid. But as of right now, he's the highest paid. So let's talk about Odell Beckham Jr. And this whole deal. Now, obviously, I believe it was a first, a third, and Jabril Peppers for OBJ. And in hindsight, it's not a great deal after last season. You figure the Browns had some safety issues. You have Jabril Peppers that would shore that up. First round pick, who knows what you do there. In a third round pick, you can always find a diamond in the rough. So, and that's not even considering, Kevin Zeitler traded with the Olivier Vernon stuff. When you look at it now, it doesn't look like a good trade. But what I told him is when you look at Odell Beckham Jr., his whole career he's had a lot of injury issues leading back to when he first started in the NFL. And in this past season, he played the entire season with a very serious injury. Sports hernia limited him in practice when he first got here. He couldn't open up completely. And he said that repeatedly. Now, fast forward to this offseason, you're seeing videos of him working out. He had the surgery. He's healthy. Obviously, this is a bit of a overshadow, I guess you could say, but he's put on a ton of size. I wouldn't say he's at a DK Metcalf yet, but he's bulky now. He's put on a lot of muscle. He's been working out hard. If you've seen the videos, he looks like a completely different receiver almost, as far as like the build standpoint. So he's a very expensive piece on this team, and you traded for him because you needed a number one, because Jarvis Landry was a very good receiver, but he couldn't quite break out as your number one in his first year or two, or however long it was. I believe he had 2 years before. No, 1 year, and then they got OBJ. I don't know. I'd have to go back and go through it again. But anyway, so going forward, you're going to have to get rid of one of these receivers, whether if it be Landry or Beckham. one of them's going to be out the door soon. And I believe that Donovan Peoples-Jones will replace one of them. I believed in this kid since, first really seen him at Michigan and seen the flashes that he's had and the success level that he can get to. Even though he hasn't shown it all yet, I don't believe it's all on him. I believe it's a lot to blame at Michigan with that whole coaching staff, with the quarterback situation. So I believe in Cleveland he will get to the elite level receiver that he was expected to be. Keep in mind, he was rated out of high school better than Jerry Jeudy, better than Henry Ruggs, and I can go down the line, but those type of elite level receivers that you're seeing drafted high first round, early second rounds, he was number one. He was expected to be a top first round pick. So he has the potential. It's just about putting it all together. So I believe he will, and I believe he'll be an elite talent for the Browns, and I think he's going to end up replacing one of those guys. But as far as judging the Odell Beckham Jr. trade right now, I don't think it's right to say that we completely blew that trade now. After next season, then I'll talk about it. But as far as right now, he's healthy. He looks stronger than ever. He seems focused. He's got an edge more than usual. So I expect him to have a big impact this season. So as far as the OBJ stuff, after next year, then we'll talk about it. If he does fall on his face, we'll get rid of him. It's that simple. So moving on. So Austin Hooper, I believe, will be a X factor for the Browns going forward. So talking about the I don't know why I messed that up. The OBJ stuff, Austin Hooper is, I believe Beckham's got 3 years left on his deal, 2 or 3 years. Jarvis, 2 or 3 years. Hooper has 4. So at the end of Trump's second term, wink, wink, Austin Hooper will be up. So I believe that, the tight end position is cheaper than obviously the wide receiver position. That's not anything that's controversial. That's just how it is. Look at the numbers. So when you see a price tag that an Odell Beckham Jr. has, let's say in 2 years the Browns move on from him. You could keep a guy in an Austin Hooper around for cheaper and then build with the receiving core with more draft picks, more cheaper free agents. You get what I'm saying? So the reason why I think Austin Hooper is going to have such a huge impact on this team, Austin Hooper has been in an offensive system very similar to what we're going to run here in Cleveland with Kyle Shanahan in Atlanta. And he's very successful in it. He knows the offensive system. He's a proven superstar in this league, or at least in my eyes. And, he said about why he wanted to come to Cleveland. It was pretty much Baker Mayfield. He said, I'm sold on Baker. I love his edge. His arm talent's great. Seems like a perfect fit. They have been putting a lot of work together. With the offseason, Baker's got himself in tremendous shape. Austin stayed at his house, I believe, for like 2 weeks or whatever. Their chemistry seems to be right here already, which is great for Browns fans. And if you don't know a whole lot about Baker Mayfield, go back and watch his college tape, even back to high school. Baker loves his tight ends. He loves his tight ends. He would much rather have a star tight end than a star receiver. So Austin Hooper, with his position cheaper than a wide receiver, if Odell Beckham Jr. underperforms again, and I don't even think he has to underperform, but in the next couple years, I believe that the Browns will move on from one of the 2 receivers, and Austin Hooper will be here long term. Because when you see a system that is primarily tight end heavy, And now we have Harrison Bryant, who has high expectations, has comparisons to George Kittle. He could potentially turn into something special. So the Browns can easily shape this offense going forward around Baker Mayfield, Nick Chubb, and Austin Hooper. Obviously, there's more than just those three, but this offense is loaded with talent. Loaded with talent. And eventually the money is going to have to get spread around. And long term, I believe what you're going to see next season is you're going to see Austin Hooper put up crazy numbers. And you're going to see Baker Mayfield have very high completion percentages because a lot of times, in this system, you're going to have a wide open tight end, or you're going to have a wide open Kareem Hunt out of the backfield, or, receiver over the middle. The system is very quarterback friendly and it fits all of Baker's strengths. So when you're talking about a guy like Austin Hooper, who has been so successful, when you take a guy who loves tight ends, fits great with tight ends, go look at the success Mark Andrews is having in Baltimore. Baker had that with him throughout college. This is nothing new. So Austin Hooper is going to come in and be Baker's Mark Andrews. That's, and I believe Austin is better than Mark Andrews right now. Andrews has a very promising future, but, as of this moment, I believe that Hooper's better. Now, when it comes to long-term, like I said, Andrew Berry is a contract genius when it comes to, manipulating the numbers so that it fits your cap. Now, we do have the highest cap right now, and it depends what we're going to do going forward. Obviously, paying Myles Garrett. There's a lot of defensive pieces that will be paid along with Baker after this next season, depending on how this goes. But when you look at the long-term future and you look at how Baker is most successful, I think Hooper is going to be a very key part of this team going forward. I don't think that he's just going to be here for another 4 years. He's currently 26. That would put him at 30. I could see him being here till he's, possibly till he retires, honestly. I mean, the impact that he's going to be able to have in this offense is going to be incredible. I can't wait. I can't wait to see what Baker does in year 3. Focused, great system that fits him, great system that fits the offensive pieces, revamped offensive line. I can't wait to see it. So what you can take away from this video is wait on judging OBJ just because the injury stuff, and also pay a close attention to Austin Hooper, because I think Austin Hooper is a big part of the future of this team, and we'll see what Barry wants to do going forward. But as far as right now and leaning towards the future from a money standpoint, cap standpoint, I'm telling you, I think Austin Hooper is going to be a key part of this team going forward. So thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video. Bye.